And I know people are going to comment below and ask me this because I still get emails asking me all the time. What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the things that I couldn't do or eat when I had IBS. So before I get started, just as a little note for you guys, one big suggestion I have for you if you have IBS and you've never done this before, please start a diary. So write down everything that you eat and drink for every single day and keep track of how each meal and drink made you feel. So that way you can really pinpoint and tell what certain foods and drinks are bothering you. Keep in mind that just because certain things bother some people doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to bother you and vice versa. Everyone is different, so you have to really find out what is bothering you specifically. Once you are able to identify those things, you're able to start eliminating those from your diet. So I'll start with the things that I personally could not do when I had IBS. One thing is eating too fast. So this is something that I still do to this day just because I'm so used to doing it. So one thing to keep in mind is whenever you're eating, you don't want to eat a whole bunch of food at once, and you also don't want to engulf anything because that really can get things started for a flare-up. So what I personally did is I would always take my time when I was eating, and I would try to really pay attention to what I was eating and make sure that I was chewing it enough before I just started swallowing it. Another thing I really had to avoid was stress. Now obviously life is stressful, there's always things that are going to be thrown your way that you can't plan for, but one thing I always tried to do was de-stress myself from situations. So if I knew that something was going to be stressful or make me anxious ahead of time, I would always try to kind of talk myself down from the situation, and I always would try to visualize myself doing the certain tasks. So say I had to give a speech. I would go through several times, even on the way there, I'd go through in my mind and I would visualize myself going through the task and what I was going to say and how I was going to feel, and that really helped kind of relieve my anxiety to prevent a flare-up from happening. Another thing that I always did was when I got in the car in the morning, I would always take deep breaths. So like on my way to school every morning when I was in college, my whole drive there, it wasn't super long, it was like maybe 10 minutes, but my whole drive there I would focus on my breathing just to get my body calmed down. So I would make sure that I was taking deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling and holding it for longer periods of time just to get my morning started with my body being less anxious. Some other things that I did for that was I would take peppermint oil lotion and I would rub it on my stomach, and I would also rub it right here so that I was able to smell it all throughout the day. So the soothing smell of peppermint oil on my stomach and on my upper lip really seemed to help kind of keep everything calmed down throughout the day because I was constantly smelling it. I'm not really sure if it did anything on my stomach because I was rubbing it on that area or not, but whatever, I did it anyways. As you guys know, if you watch my videos, you know that I also would take an enteric coating peppermint oil supplement for a long time before I found something else that worked even better for me. That is a good thing to try if you guys have not tried that already. Another thing that, it's not that I couldn't do this, but I guess that would just make it worse, I would say, is my period. So I'm sure if you have IBS, you deal with the same type of thing if you're a girl. Is that whenever your time of the month comes, you know that it's going to be worse. So typically for me, I always know what day my period's going to start, so it was never a surprise for me. But I always knew that the day before was going to be really bad, and that like halfway through my period, I was going to get another bad flare-up. So that's just my personal thing. Like I said, I can't really prevent that from happening, but those were things that I knew to prepare myself for. So now I'll go into the things that I tried to avoid food-wise. So the first thing that I had to avoid was deep fried foods. So every single Friday when I lived at home in high school, we would go out to eat and I would always have chicken lips, and chicken lips were the shit. I love chicken lips so much. Buffalo chicken lips were amazing and I loved them, and I knew that afterwards I was gonna have a flare-up, but I also knew that I was going to be going right straight home afterwards, so that didn't really bother me. But that was kind of like my guilty treat every single week that I looked forward to, at least the initial taste, not the aftermath. But deep fried foods, so pizza logs, chicken wings, definitely were no-goes for me. Greasy foods, like I said, that kind of goes into the deep fried things. Anything greasy was definitely a negative. Pizza could be good, but it also could be really bad. It just depended on where it was from, but some pizzas weren't too bad for me. Another thing I had to avoid was junk food, things that are super high in sugar. So any like candy, sweets, danishes, cookies, brownies, like all the great things in life that you love. Yeah, those always made my flare-ups really, really bad. I knew that if I had any certain meal that was really, really high in sugar, that like 30 minutes later I was really going to regret it. Gum, anything with artificial sweeteners, that was definitely a negative for me. It's definitely something that I always tried to avoid. So now I'll go into the things that I try to avoid drink-wise. Alcohol is definitely something that made my stomach flare up. I'm not a drinker. I drink like maybe a glass of wine a year, so I don't drink hardly ever, but definitely having alcohol did not make my stomach feel any better. It always gave me a flare-up afterwards. I didn't avoid alcohol because of my IBS. I don't care if you like alcohol, but I just personally am not someone who is for alcohol, so it was something that I avoided anyways for the most part, so it made it pretty easy for me. Juices, oh my gosh, juices. So I'm not like a big juice person in general, but if I wanted something different, like I'm a water girl, I like water, like that's it. You can give me anything in the world to drink and I'll pick water every time. So if I wanted something to kind of like spice up my life and feel wild, I would have like a little bit of cranberry juice or like cran raspberry juice, cran grape juice. Loved cranberry juice. Every single time I'd have a flare-up. It didn't matter if it was like real juice or fake juice, it was horrible. I actually think that the real juices were worse for me than the fake juices, which I think doesn't make any sense, but I feel like my body responded worse to the real juices. But with that being said, fruits were fine. Fruits never bothered me, which is great because I love fruit. Oh my gosh, pop. Pop was definitely a negative for me. That's actually the reason why I stopped drinking pop. I haven't had a drink of pop since I was 15, so it's been over 10 years, except for like maybe a sip 3 times total in the last 10 years. So whenever you stop drinking pop, it tastes like shit afterwards. Like, it's disgusting. All you can just taste is like syrupy carbonation, and it's gross, and I hate it. But pop was definitely negative for me. Growing up, I loved Pepsi. The first drink of Pepsi was just always so good. I loved it, just like the fizziness in your mouth. But now it's freaking disgusting. And I stopped drinking it because it always caused flare-ups. And now I can't tell you that I miss it even one bit. And like I said with the pop, anything carbonation, like carbonated water, ugh. I still hate the taste of it. I hate carbonation, anything. It just is gross. Like any sparkling water, I'll just take the regular water. And I know people are gonna comment below and ask me this because I still get emails asking me all the time, did dairy mess me up? Was I lactose intolerant? Nothing about dairy to this day has ever bothered me. So I've definitely never been lactose intolerant. I've been tested for it and it's a negative. And the same thing goes for caffeine. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I don't get caffeine from coffee. I think coffee is disgusting, but caffeine has also never bothered me. I know it does for a lot of people. I know anything lactose bothers a lot of people, but for me, I personally never had any issues. So that's my list. Those are the things that I could not do, I had to avoid, and foods and drinks that were just a negative for me when I had IBS. Definitely things that I could not have. Like I said, everyone is different, so please make a list and keep a diary of everything that you eat and drink so that you can pinpoint and find out what foods bother you. I'm very happy to say that I've slowly introduced some of these foods back into my life, and I don't have any issues with it anymore. I've not had an issue with any of these things. I just think a lot of them taste gross now that I haven't had them in so long. But as far as like the juices go, fruit juices don't bother me, but what I do is if I'm gonna have fruit juice, I'll put like 50 to 75% water in a cup, and then I'll just put like a tiny bit of the juice, so it's very watered down, just because I'm not used to such a strong taste in my drinks because all I ever drink is water. So once you are able to overcome it, again, there is hope that you're able to reintroduce some of these things back into your life and you're able to tolerate it and be okay with it again. So there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy my videos, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It means so much to me if you do that. And if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!